Do you have any question today? Okay.
Dear Venerable Ajahn, my question here, if I thinking chanting Bhutto Bhutto, if it's very helpful for daily activities when I do have the body movement, and then when I doing sitting meditation, I'm planning to use the so-called
Anapanasati.
Anapanasati. Then if the mind more coming down, I change the method to Vipassana. Is there any problem for this mixing?
It depends on whether you know how to use vipassana or not. Because vipassana is something quite complicated. You have to understand what anicca, dukkha, anatta is in order to persuade your mind to let go of the things that is causing your mind problem. If you cannot see the three characteristics in the things that causing you problem, then you won't be able to let go anyway. So yes, you can in answer, but whether you know how to use it or not, that's another question. But basically, if you use the mantra, it's simpler. Just keep reciting the mantra or chanting, and ignore what's happening to your mind. Then when your mind forget about the things that causing you problem, then your mind can become calm and peaceful. But it will only be temporarily, because as you go back to the same problem, the same thing, you think about the things that causing you problem, then you will have problem again. But if you use vipassana, then it will be permanent. You will no longer have any problem with that thing. Once you see that it is anicca, dukkha, anatta. Anicca is impermanent. By being impermanent, it will cause you stress or bad feelings. And it's anatta because you cannot control them. You cannot get rid of them or manage them. They're just stubborn, and they won't do what you want them to do. Then you just have to leave them alone. Once you leave them alone, then they will not bother you anymore.
Okay, and that's all for my question. Thank you very much.
Okay. Next, do you have any question?
So Ajahn, so when is a person ready to do vipassana meditation?
When you understand the three characteristics.
The three characteristics.
What impermanent is, what is causing you unhappiness, and what is anatta, what is no self. Anatta is nature. Everything is part of nature. You cannot control nature. So you cannot control anything eventually. Sometimes you might be able to control them from time to time, but eventually you will not be able to control them, such as your body. Your body right now, you might be able to control it to a certain extent, but eventually it will get to the point where you cannot control it. If it's gonna die, you cannot stop it from dying. If it's gonna get sick, you cannot stop it from getting sick. And if you see it's anatta, then you just know you have to let go if you don't want to suffer. If you let go, then it will not bother you. But if you still want to control it, you want to manage it, want to change it, and when you cannot do it, you'll be frustrated.
But this is like we have to be very accepting to whatever is happening.
Accepting the truth, accepting the reality, like we accept the sun and the rain. See, we don't have much problem with the sun and the rain because we accept them for what they are. But with other things or people, we don't want to accept them for what they are. We want to change them, we want to manage them. And when we cannot do it, then we become frustrated and unhappy. If you don't want to be frustrated or unhappy, then you just leave them alone. Just like you leave the sun and the wind alone, the rain alone. Everything is like that. They are anatta. They are not under anybody's control. They are part of nature, natural process. This is anatta. No self in anything, no self in the body, no self in your possession. Your possession don't really belong to you. They only belong to you temporarily. Sooner or later, you and your possession will have to separate. When you're not willing to separate, then you become sad. But if you're willing, you accept the fact, the truth, then you will be calm and not unhappy. This is the goal, to be able to separate from everything eventually.
So this means we don't really have to sit down and meditate on it, do we? It's an everyday.
No, you need to sit down first to develop this inner strength to resist your desire, which keep pushing your mind to run away from the truth. So you want to sit to meditate, to force your mind to be still and face the truth. If you cannot sit and become still, then when you face with the truth, you want to run away from it, and you won't be able to stop the mind from running away from the truth. That's why we keep running around, right? From here to there, from there to here, back and forth, because we're running from the truth. When we are not happy here, we want to go somewhere else. When we go somewhere else for a while, we're not happy again, so we run away from it again. So we keep running away. But if you learn how to meditate, your mind becomes calm, then your mind can live with the reality. It will not be affected by reality. Actually, reality has it's not the problem. The problem is our desire that keeps changing. We like this. When it's hot, we want it cold. When it's cold, we want it hot. Always want something that is not. See, so we have to stop this by meditating. When you calm your mind becomes still, then this desire disappears. Then your mind can accept things as they are. When it is taught the nature of things, that there are three characteristics. They have these three characteristics. So first you need to meditate to be able to control your mind, to stop your mind from running away from reality. Then when you meet the reality that you don't like, then you teach the mind to accept it. That this is the truth, you cannot run away from it. It will come after you no matter where you go. This unhappiness, this bad feeling will always follow you regardless of where you go. So you have to face it and let it come and go by itself. Okay?
Good afternoon, Ajahn. I have a question, but I think Ajahn may have already answered my questions. This is in relation to day-to-day living, where I know my conditions are actually quite good. I don't have problem with health. I have time to meditate and practice. I don't have worries about many things, but sometimes, from time to time, there's a feeling of discontent. And that discontent is something very, very light. It's not, it doesn't hit me or anything, but I can feel it. And I was contemplating on that. I felt like it was a craving for condition to be different.
That's right, because your mind hasn't found a contentment point.
Yes.
There's a contentment point in your mind,
Yes.
which you can achieve by meditating.
Yes.
Once you become calm, once your mind becomes fully calm, then you will reach contentment.
Yes.
And then the longer you keep the mind in that point, when you withdraw, this contentment will also follow you afterward, after you meditate.
Yes.
But it will only last for so long.
Yes.
Then when you feel discontent, then you have to meditate again to bring
Yes.
the mind back to that point of contentment.
Yes.
So when you're feeling you're not content, then it means you need to meditate.
Yes.
It's time to meditate
Okay. Okay.
to
Thank
calm your mind.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because
Thank
when your mind is not calm, your mind thinks, it starts to worry, it starts to have desire, cravings for things.
Yes.
and then that will make you feel discontent.
Yes. And then when I was looking at it, I felt like that's what suffering was, and that's why I
all
was
it's about.
suffering.
Yeah, because the mind is not calm.
Yes.
Once the mind is not calm, it starts to crave, starts to desire for things.
Yes.
Then it becomes discontent, and then it starts to worry, it starts to be agitated, because it cannot get what it wants.
Yes. Okay, thank you, Ajahn.
So the solution is to meditate, to calm your mind.
Yes, thank you, Ajahn.
Take tranquilizer according to the modern medicine. When people feel anxious, you go to see a doctor and they say, oh, you take some tranquilizer, calm your mind. But then you become addicted to the tranquilizer. And when you have no tranquilizer to take, then you become worse. So that's not the way to solve the problem either.
With our practice in this life, and should, like when we pass away, if we are fortunate enough to be reborn as a human being, will we carry on with what we have achieved in this life?
Some will carry on if it becomes part of your nature, if it becomes part of your habit. But if it's something that you memorize, you learn through memorize, you can lose them, because memory is impermanent. But something that you do until it becomes your habit, then it goes with you. Like if you used to use your right hand, you'll continue to use your right hand in your next birth. If you used to like red or green, you'll continue to like red or green. If you used to eat, you like this kind of taste, you will continue to like it. If you hate this kind of taste, you will keep hating it. Some of them will go and some of them won't go. Your memory of what happened today will disappear in just a few days. It might not disappear, but it's so deep in your consciousness that you need to have a very calm mind to be able to trace it back there. But for most people, it's impossible. You forget what your last life was, whether you were an animal, or you were a human, where you were born, where you lived. But some people have good memory; they can trace back their past lives. So some of them will go with you. Some of them, if something that you keep doing it, then it will go with you. But if something you're just thinking about it, then it can disappear, because once you don't think about it for a while, you'll forget. But something that you do won't disappear. So you used to meditate, you can continue to meditating. You used to keep the 5 precepts, you'll continue to keep the 5 precepts.
That was my main question.
Okay.
With the meditation, will we carry on? But then if we form into a habit, it will carry on.
Yeah.
Thank you, Ajahn.
That's why we have different people here. People like to meditate and people don't like to meditate. People don't like meditate, they don't come here. People who like meditate, and they come here.
But okay, say we meditate and then we form into a habit. But then when you're reborn, lucky enough as a human being, but with your family, with the environment that you're born in, would that affect your habit?
It can obstruct, but it cannot eliminate your habit. As soon as you have the opportunity, you will start meditating again. If somehow somebody introduce you to a meditation course, for instance, and once you go there, you can rekindle the old fire, rekindle your old habit, and you can restart your habit again. But if you live with people who don't meditate, then maybe there's nothing to rekindle that practice yet. So sometimes you need something to push it, to get it started. Sometimes maybe when you are left alone by yourself, like the Buddha, when he was a prince, he was left alone one day by himself, and suddenly his mind became calm from his past lives. He used to meditate. So when he's not surrounded by people or things that disturb his mind, then his mind suddenly just go into samadhi automatically. So this follow with you. That's why the Buddha chose the path as a spiritual achievement, rather than choosing the path of being an emperor. Because he was used to the spiritual path more than the worldly path. This will be one of the determinant factor to affect to influence your decision on what you want to do in your life. Because you know what is good for you, what you feel good, so you want to go back to what makes you feel good. And what doesn't make you feel good, you don't want to do it. So it depends on what made you feel good in your past life. So you'll keep seeking for that again in this new life. If drinking makes you feel good, then you'll look for a place to drink. If gambling makes you feel good, you'll look for a place to gamble. If you go into a monastery making you happy, you're looking for a monastery to go to. All right?
Okay. Thank you, Ajahn.
Is that all? Or one? Okay.
Ajahn, I have a question about dreams. So sometimes when there are recurring dreams that come back regularly, there are two that I have that I remembered very vividly, and they repeat infrequently at different times. So could that have come from something of my past?
Yes, your past karma. Whatever you did, you registered it in your mind, recorded in your mind. When you go to sleep, whatever is you are more impressed with, it might comes up. If you are more attached to such experience, it could come up in your dreams. But sometimes if you don't, it depends on the karma that you did, whether good or bad, how strong it was. Then this karma can come up in your dreams when you go to sleep. So sometimes you might have good dreams or bad dreams. If you have bad dreams, it's an indication that you did bad karma in the past. If you have good dreams, it means you did good karma in the past.
These two dreams were quite vivid in terms of the occurrence of what happened. It was quite neutral, but because they were so vivid, I cannot find it anywhere outside of in my consciousness that I have come across something like that, which make me wonder where they came from. That's all.
Maybe in the past you were real impressed with this experience, so it keep recurring in your dreams.
Yes. Okay. Thank you, Ajahn.
Okay. I think that will be all for today. วันนี้คิดว่ามีคำถามไหมครับ You have any more questions? Okay, go ahead. One more question.
Ajahn, this is sometimes daily life you got something that you think of, you need to find a solution, but you say, "I'll park it aside because no decision yet." But I find that when I meditate, not that I'm thinking about that situation or what, but the answer sometimes, whether it's chanting or meditate, the answer will just appear. Then is it because I'm thinking about it, or
you stop thinking? When you stop thinking, then the answer will come up. Sometimes when you think, you block the answer, the right answer. So sometimes you have to calm your mind. When your mind becomes calm, then you become sensible, not emotional. Then the sensible answer will come up, not the emotional answer. So sometimes that's why we have to meditate first to calm the mind. Then we go back to look at the problem, then we can solve it sensibly, not emotionally. Okay.
Thank you.
Okay.
Dear Tan Ajahn, I would like to ask if we keep chanting Bhutto Bhutto, and if the mind getting bored, what shall we do?
You can change from chanting to watching your body movement. If you're walking, just watch your feet, left, right. Or if you're doing whatever you do, just do with your body. Like you're eating, just eat with your body. Don't let your mind think about other things. From the time you pick up the food, put in your mouth, chew the food, swallow the food, just do this thing with the body. Don't let your mind go think about other things. Then you can recite the 32 parts of the body if you can remember. Hair of the head, hair of the body, nail, teeth, skin, flesh, and so on. You can look up in the text the 32 parts of the body. Then try to recite, try to memorize. Then when you're tired of using Bhutto, you can use the 32 parts. Or you can use you can chant some other verses. Buddhang saranang gacchami, Dhammang saranang gacchami, Namo tassa arahang samma sambuddho. This can be replaced. You can replace the Buddho, Buddho, Dhammo, Sangho. Yeah. These are appropriate or suitable to prevent your mind from thinking aimlessly.
For the mantra, if we keep switching, sometime Buddho, sometime Namo Tassa.
If you're not meditating, it's okay. But when you sit, when you use one particular object, you should stick to it. Like if you're watching your breath, you should just keep watching your breath. Don't change it. Unless when you first start, you're not able to watch your breath, then you have to start with Bhutto or chanting first. Once you chant or recite Bhutto and your mind become calm enough, you want to watch your breath, then you can do that also.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Good afternoon, Venerable. I am Hansen from Jakarta, Indonesia. Thank you for this opportunity. I want to ask that nowadays we found a lot of the hoax news. Fake news, and then it is really very famous everywhere, every country, and then really make the living situation is sometimes so scary and uncomfortable. So for this modern IT, very easy to spread the news everywhere, and the bad guys mostly dominate the condition. How to avoid and have a good feeling facing these circumstances? Thank you, Venerable.
Well, you have to understand that fake news happen all the time. Even during the time of the Buddha, there are fake news because people like to say fake things. So the Buddha teaches us in the Kalama Sutta. Have you heard of Kalama Sutta? The Buddha said, don't believe what you hear. Because he's your teacher, because people believe in what they say, you don't have to believe. Yeah. He said, you should only believe only when you can prove it. First you can listen, but you don't have to believe or disbelieve. You have to take what you hear and then prove to yourself whether it is true or not. And the Buddha said that you shouldn't worry about all kinds of news. The only kind of news you should worry about is the news that can help you eliminate the suffering from your heart, from your mind. If you can use the news that you hear to eliminate your suffering, then you can believe that news to be true. Other than that, it doesn't matter whether it's true or not. It has nothing to do with us. Because our only problem is our suffering. And what we want is to eliminate our suffering. So the only news we want to hear is the news on how to suppress or how to eliminate our suffering. Other news you can just disregard. It doesn't matter whether it's true or not. It doesn't change our life. The only news that can change our life is how to get rid of our suffering. And there's only one news that can get rid of our suffering, and that's the Dhamma teaching of the Buddha. So we should just listen to the Dhamma talks and forget about all the news that you hear. Then you won't feel worried or you won't feel frustrated, See, this is what we should listen to, just Dhamma talks. Other other news, you have to be skeptical, because there are people who wants to cheat on you, wants to corrupt, wants to take money away from you. So they will try to tell you all kinds of story. So if you cannot prove whether it's gonna be true or not, hold on to your money. Don't give your money away. Okay.
Dear Ajahn, I would like to ask regarding the observation of 32 parts of the body. Shall I must follow the sequence, or I can amend the sequence in order for me to remember easily?
Well, actually, the sequence according to the reality of the body. See, the sequence starts from the outside and then go inside. You start with the hair of the head, then you go the hair of the head, hair of the body, then you go to the nail, skin, teeth, nail, and then you go to the skin, then you go to the flesh. From the flesh you go to the bone. See, so everything go into all the of the truth of the body. So you shouldn't use any other sequence. It's complete, it's good, because this way you can see the picture. You're going from the outside to the inside. Once you've gone through all the physical part, then you go through the fluid part. See? And you have the blood, everything else inside the body. So the sequence that the Buddha prescribed is already good. Yeah. And he wants you to do it forward and backward. Backward also. Okay. Once you reach the part 32, you want to retrace back from 32 to 31, from 31 to 30, and then eventually back up to the hair of the head. So you can visualize your body this way. See? From outside into inside, and then from inside back to the outside.
Shall I use English, or I can use my
whatever
Chinese
language?
Okay.
If you can translate into Malaysian, you can use Malaysian also. Okay. The goal is for your mind to understand the parts of the body, to be able to visualize it, so that because it's in everybody's, but we don't see it. So when we don't see the parts under the skin, we think the body is good looking. But once you go under the skin, then you say beauty is only skin deep, right? Once you go under the skin, then nobody is good looking anymore. When you start to see the skeleton, you start to see the lung, the heart, the liver, the kidneys, the intestines, and you say, oh, this body is not good looking at all. This way can suppress or eliminate your sexual desire. This form for people who takes up the 8 precepts and more, they need to have this perception of the body in order to prevent their sexual desire to arise. Because when this arises, then they have to break the precept. They have to go back and sleep with their wife or husband. Yeah. They can no longer meditate. So you need to, if you want to meditate and you want to keep the 8 precepts or more, you have to constantly be aware of the other parts of the body that you don't see, the parts under the skin.
Thanks, Ajahn. One more question. Sometimes when I chanting Bhutto or meditations, I have a feeling of proud feeling, I can call it. Sometimes I don't know why it erased. Then I was surprised. It seemed like it wasn't me, myself. So how should I manage this?
Just ignore them. Just know when they just come and go like the wind. They have no substance. It's just feeling. That can be true or false. It's like it could be fake news or real news. If you cannot separate them, then just ignore them. Your goal is, when you meditate, is to calm your mind, to to be without any feelings. If you keep concentrating on reciting the mantra, then eventually your mind will be completely blank, empty, no feeling, and then you feel good, you feel happy that way.
Thank you very much, Ajahn.
Okay.
Is Buddhism a religion, philosophy, way of life, or sin of mind?
The Buddhism, the actual translation of Buddhism means the dispensation of the teaching of the Buddha. That's all. A Buddha is a teacher. He have discovered the truth that we don't know before. Like before, you used to believe the world was flat, right? And somebody discovered that the world wasn't flat. The world was round. So they teach people the truth about the world. It's the same way with the teaching of the Buddha. The Buddha discovered that the mind and the body are two separate things. The mind is not the Buddha, the body is not the mind. And if we want to be free of suffering, we must not attach the mind to the body. We must leave the body alone because the body is temporary. The body will get old, get sick and die. If we attach the mind to the body, then the mind will suffer when the body get old, get sick or die. So this is the teaching. The Buddha is a teacher. So Buddhism is really a school that teaches the truth that nobody knows. We only know about the body and we think the body is us. But the fact the body is not us. The body is just our servant. We use the body to go here and there. But the body is temporary. Then one day the body has to die. But the mind doesn't die with the body. The mind, if it still wants to use the body, it will go look for a new body. That's when you have rebirth. You have a new birth. And you keep having rebirth as long as you want to use the body as the way to get you happiness. But if you can stop using the body and use meditation as a method of getting you happiness for you, then you won't have to use the body anymore. Then when the body dies, you don't have to go reborn anymore. So this is the teaching of the Buddha. This is Buddhism, to teach us that we are not the body, we are the mind. But since we use the body as a way of getting us happiness, we will have to be reborn until we can stop using the body as the means of getting us the happiness by meditation, by developing wisdom. Then we won't need to use the body. And we don't have to be reborn again. So I don't know what you want to call Buddhism. This is Buddhism. It's the dispensation of the teaching of the Buddha.
How could I overcome the fear in the mind?
It depends on what you're afraid of. If you're afraid of ghosts, you have to go look for ghosts, whether they are ghosts or not.
Okay. So we go and see what the fear of, then we go and face the truth.
Yes, whether there is face the truth, and come down to it. You have to invest. You ask yourself really, what are you afraid of really? You're afraid of ghosts or animal because they're gonna attack you, right?
Yes.
So actually, you are more afraid of death than anything else.
Yes.
You don't want anything to cause you to die. So what the real fear is not fear of ghosts or fear of animal.
Oh.
The real fear is fear of death.
Oh.
So you have to study the nature of your body. That can you avoid death or not? If you cannot avoid it, then why should you be afraid of death? Because everybody dies. So if you're willing to accept death, then you will not be afraid of anything. Okay.
Thank you, Tan Ajahn. That's all. Dear Tan Ajahn, during my working meditations, At the beginning, I'm observing put toe and then left, right foot. And then there was a moment until my breath, I can feel my breath in and out, but my put toe is missing. I can't catch my put toe again.
You should just use one thing. Put toe or wash your feet or watch your breath. You don't have to do all three things at the same time.
Okay.
Just choose one, just to have something to tie the mind to, not to let it go think about other things. Just keep walking, putto, 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 or watch your feet, left, right, left, right, left, right. I think watching the breath might be difficult.
Yep.
Because the breath is suitable for sitting position. If you're walking, you just watch your body or watch your mantra, Bhutto, Bhutto. If it disappears, then you can bring it back. When Bhutto disappears, just keep reciting, that's all.
Okay.
When you stop reciting, it disappears. So when it disappears, you restart it by reciting it. Okay?
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Hello? Okay. So the Buddha often spoke about the drawbacks of sensual pleasure. And apparently I don't seem to fully understand it yet. So I was wondering whether you could explain that better or in simple terms.
They are drawbacks because they are not reliable. Sometimes you can get it, sometimes you don't get it. Sometimes you can have a girlfriend, sometimes you don't have a girlfriend. So it's not reliable. It's not something that you can always depend on to make you happy. So someday you can become sad, you can become lonely, you become depressed because you cannot have any sensual pleasures. Maybe due to because your body is not fit, your body can get sick, become crippled, handicapped. Sometimes you run out of money, or you run out of things to buy. These are the drawbacks of sensual pleasures. They are not permanent. They are not reliable. They are not some. They can be. They can change. They can appear and they can disappear. And sometimes you cannot force them or control them. Sometimes someone you love just suddenly leave you, maybe because they just got sick of you and they just want to go away. Or sometimes they just die. Or sometimes they got sick. They become handicapped. They cannot serve you, give you happiness. These are things that you cannot control. So it's better not to rely on sensual pleasure to give you happiness. The Buddha said there is more reliable way of having happiness. That's the happiness that arises from meditation. This you can always have it because it doesn't rely on anything except your ability to concentrate your mind to become calm, that's all. And once you have that ability, you can always have that kind of happiness, regardless of the situation of your body or your financial situation. It will not affect your ability to have this kind of happiness. Okay?
So I have a good friend, but I'm jealous of him. And sometimes it's hard to even bear the company. It's like I'm in a competition with him.
Yes.
And if I'm doing better, then I'm at peace, kind of. And if he's doing better, then I suffer. But he is a good influence on me.
Yes.
So it's unfortunate. And maybe in general, I find it a bit hard to be happy for other people.
Yeah, because you look at them at the wrong point. You should look at them at the thing that you are the same like them. They are the same like you. In that we are born, we're gonna get old, get sick, and die. Don't look at how much money they have, how much they can do, what they can do. Look at the things that make us the same. And what makes us the same is birth, aging, sickness, and death. If you can see this all the time, then you can have compassion for other people. You won't be jealous of other people. Because in the end, we're all in the same boat. We're all gonna sink. So it doesn't matter what you have, what position you are in. In the end, we're all gonna lose everything. So that's what you should try to keep looking when you look at other people. Don't look at their status, don't look at their money, don't look at their physical appearance. Because this thing is delusional. They're not the true picture of them. The real picture of them and you is that we are all in the same boat. We are all born and then we all get sick, get old and die. Then you would have no jealousy, you all have compassion and love toward your fellow being, human beings, and animal as well. Is that clear? Okay.
So Ajahn, when practicing the perception of impermanence, the sensations of the body can start to melt away or dissolve or become insubstantial. And the outer layer of the mind, so the coarse thoughts and emotions can also start to dissolve or become insubstantial. But there's a layer of the mind below the coarse thoughts and emotions which seems solid. It seems like I can't quite seem to let go of it. I can't quite seem to see it as impermanent. Do you have any advice on how to work with this?
No, as far as the mind itself goes, if it's something solid, something stable, you don't need to do anything with it. It's the thing that is not stable that you want to do something with it. What if they are unstable, then you have to say that they are impermanent. And if they are impermanent, you just have to leave them alone. Just accept them for what they are. Don't try to change them. Just know that they come and go, rise and cease. Because if you want to manage them, and even you could not, then you can become unhappy, sad. So the study of all things is to understand their nature and leave them alone. Don't try to manage anything. Even your body, your financial status, they are not stable. So the best thing is not to rely on them for your happiness. The Buddha said you should seek happiness from peace of mind by meditation. Once you have happiness from meditation, then you can let go of everything else. See, so this is what the purpose of studying the body, the feelings, and the mental state of mind, to understand that this is the way things are. They are impermanent, they come and go, they rise and cease. No matter how much you try to manage or control them, you will not be able to do so. You will end up frustrating and sad and disappointed. But once you understand the true nature, that they are like nature, they are like the sun, the moon, the stars, the wind, the rain. You cannot control them, you cannot manage them, but you can live with them happily by just coexisting with them. Let them come and let them go. And you just remain calm and peaceful and be aware of what's happening. But don't try to exert any control over them, because then it will create stress in yourself. Is that clear enough?
Yes, thank you, Ajahn.
Okay. Anybody else?
So sometimes we encounter situations where it seems like there's a lot of unfairness, like we're in a system which seems set against us, and it seems like there's nothing that we can do to work with that. There seems like there's nothing we can do to change the external conditions. And even though on some level there's knowing that we don't need to be bothered by this, still these very strong disturbing emotions arise. It's a very strong feeling of unfairness or inappropriateness, or this feeling that something is terribly wrong. So the mind becomes very disturbed. So what do you recommend to do when the mind is flooded by these disturbing emotions, when it seems justified?
Because your mind isn't calm enough yet. So what you should do, develop more calm. Make your calm to be continuous, not just when you meditate. Make it calm even after you come out of your meditation. Then when you see the world, you'll see it in a different angle. You'll see the world as it is, not as what you want it to be. See, if your mind is not calm, then your desire will come up, and you want fairness, you want justice in the world that is not there, in the world where injustice is the norm. Then you will be frustrated. See? So the problem is you have to make your mind calmer, and calm all the time, not just when you meditate. You should be calm like when you meditate. Then when you come out of meditation, you can still remain calm. Then you look at the world as it is, that it is impartial, it's impermanent, it's not perfect world. And so you don't have any desire to make it perfect. Then there will be no sense of frustration or dissatisfaction in your mind. So what you need is to practice more meditation. Enter into the fourth jhana, appana samadhi, and let it stay there for as long as possible. When you come out, you should maintain mindfulness to keep it calm. Or if you can use wisdom, you can use the three characteristics of existence to remind your mind to leave things alone. Not to expect, not to desire for things to be this or be that, because it's not possible. Okay?
Sorry, Ajahn. There's the Thai idiom that "pair bin pra, chana bin man." And this, I'm wondering about this principle of like submissiveness. How far can that go? Are there any limits, like in society, where you shouldn't take the position of being, of allowing things to pair?
Pair bin pra means to surrender, to not to win. If you want to be a monk, you have to give up everything and be ready to lose everything, even your life, in order to maintain your holiness. Put that way. Or else, if you start to struggle, you have to start to fight, then you change from being a monk into become the devil. To win is to be the devil. To lose is to be a monk. So there's no need to win, because whatever you win, you're gonna lose it in the end. So it's better to lose, then you got nothing else to lose. Then you can always be happy. When you win, you will worry about losing what you have won, see. So it's better to lose than to win. When you lose, when you know how to lose, then you can be holy. When you don't know how to lose, you can become the devil. Okay. This is in the practice of loving kindness, to forgive. Yeah. And when people want to say something, do something against what you feel which is not right, you just forgive them. And let them be. Yeah. Then your mind will become peaceful and not having to struggle, fight with other people. Okay.
Bo, I have a question. How should we help somebody who has addiction?
Well, first of all, you have to know whether they need your help or not. Sometimes they don't want your help because they want to continue on with their addiction. Then there's nothing you can do. But if they need your help, then you can help by, say, taking them away from from where addiction is easy to get, like go and live in a monastery, for instance. But they have to be willing to submit themselves. Like people who go to rehab, they know they have problem, and they want to solve this problem, so they need to separate themselves to be away from things that makes them addicted to, such as drugs. So they either go to a rehab center or they go to a monastery. Yeah. But they have to be willing to do it themselves. You cannot force them to do it.
Thank you, Lompo.
Okay. This is the request by your spouse. She wants me to explain what real Buddhism is. See, Buddhism is composed of studying the teaching of the Buddha, and once we have studied his teaching, we apply his teaching in our practice. And the goal of Buddha's teaching, is to bring peace of mind to us, to the practitioner. And in order to have peace of mind, you have to go practice in a quiet place, such as a monastery, a meditation monastery. The temples that you see, they are not meditation monasteries. They are study temples in which monks study the scriptures, but they hardly do any meditation practice. So you have to go visit a meditation monastery, then you'll see that they require everybody to shut up, to not communicate with anybody. Sometimes they require that you give up your phone, only use it when you are in emergency case. Otherwise, they don't allow you to have the phone or turn on the phone, because it will disturb the mind that you're trying to make it peaceful. But this is only for the purpose of making the mind peaceful and calm. But once you know you are able to control your mind, then you can come back and use things normally, because you know that when the mind becomes agitated or restless, you know how to make it calm and peaceful again.